Hi, this is Gary Jordan from Natural Law for North America. And this evening I wanted to discuss a one of the articles, and it has to do with travel. And it pops up a lot with the different freedom movements and other stuff. In fact, it's one that kind of tends to push my buttons. You know, I can't drive, and we have in I live in California, and there is an absolute total worship. I mean, you might as well bow down to the silly things. But in fact, in 2000, the right to travel pops up in our country for several good reasons, and it's included in the Articles of Confederation, both the Respublica of Earth, which we're in the process of starting to ratify. I've ratified it. I got my signature on it. At AmericanLawAtTheLand.com. Um, and you can find the articles, which will have the correct numbers. The one I gave last week isn't exactly correct now, but that's okay. At any rate, um, the issue has to do with travel, and it pops up, like I say, a lot. And in 2000, 2001, I was volunteering down in Southern California. I got to work for a few years, volunteer as a special ed teacher aide. In spite of being not able to drive, in spite of being legally blind, I got a couple places, a couple classes actually let me do it. Most turned me away because I wasn't normal enough for them. You know, there's this corporate nonsense. But during the 2000, 2001 year, there was a campaign. I think one of the governor was up for election, uh, and there was a campaign about drivers. We have a lot of immigration from south of the border. The U.S. corporation drags them up here. They encourage them to come up here to do the farming and the child care and a lot of the stuff that the uh, good little white Americans, most of them, won't touch. And but they weren't allowed to operate their cars to take their children to and from school, go to work, the whole bit. And so there was a big to do about that because at the time I didn't know it. Most people don't, and that is that that the driver's license thing is actually illegal, even under the U.S. corporate Constitution, and I'll get into that in a minute. Um, we have this thing. Anyway, so there was a campaign about the human right to drive. Well, I guess I'm not human. I don't drive. The people I've worked with, the students that I worked with in one class, they were actually small children. And the other class that I was working with at the time, they were actually adults. And I guess because it's really autistic and on paper anyway, severely retarded, intellectually disabled. Um, but I guess those of us like that can't drive. But if you actually read the U.S. corporate constitution that everybody's familiar with in school, it actually doesn't specify the mode of travel because it is the mode of travel, the right to get from point A to point B. When the automobile came around, it brought a whole new money ka-ching thing for these folk up in the powerhouses. And so they dreamt up this idea of licenses. I guess originally because all the Model Ts were all black, so they put license plates on and stuff, and then they started charging fees, and then there was a legitimate safety. For me, there's a legitimate safety thing. As a visually impaired, legally blind person, it has very limited eyesight, and even at that time, I had limited eyesight. Um, it's a little frightening because most of the people, even with the corporate permission slip to say you have the right to drive, that you've taken all our little tests, you've regurgitated everything we want, most of them are too distracted and too worried about looking like an American. I've got this SUV that says I'm somebody. The low self-esteem thing, and it's kind of sad. So I didn't have a problem with the being able to operate a car. But I did have a problem with my rights because under natural law, that's not an issue. Under natural law, my rights end where yours begin, and your rights end where mine begin. In other words, do no harm. But we got everything set up to where only one mode of travel is permissible, and that is the car. The god-awful car. And it's to the point where you look at every commercial, every other commercial, even when I was still watching TV, it was every other commercial. I hear it's even worse now. Cars. Even on YouTube, I can't even watch a video without some butthole car. But ask yourself this, why the car? Because they can say you're a commercial driver. More the semantics, more the playing with word games, so that you go into the little playroom called the courtroom, they have you hung over the barrel. They control the rules of their little game, and they're never going to admit that they're wrong. But anyway, in our article, the Respublica of Earth, we actually have on Article 11, I'll read it, and remember, I got to blow things up to Kingdom Come, but I'll read it anyway. Free movement through land, I should say, let's try that again. Free movement through and across land, water, air, and space is a natural function of life, and it is. It's a natural function of life and remains unrestricted, uninhibited, and unlimited. Modes of transportation safeguards the integrity and regenerative capacity cycles of Mother Earth. And it is, you look at animals, I don't see one modality, even within things like four-footers, even just human. You can crawl, walk, roll, somersaults. There's more than one way to get around. And that's the point. And so one of the issues is modality. Well, when you say uninhibited and unrestricted, that means modality. When you lord it over somebody in a wheelchair, or someone that uses a white cane, or a bicycle, or heaven forbid, not be a man and walk. It actually walks. When you lord it over to make it dangerous with a 6-lane road, there should be a highway in a town to where it's dangerous to get across. You're hindering and inhibiting somebody else's right to travel. Now, the safety issue, I was like, well, people thought that that's what the driver's license thing was about. It's not. It's about them making money off of you and claiming you're a commercial driver, which is a U.S. corporation, not ours, but the one in the U.S. corporation. Even they don't specify the mode of travel. Only whether it's commercial or not. That's the only thing that counts, because they want to get a piece of the pie. They want to get a piece of that action, because they're a bunch of freeloading crooks. But for us, as we transform back into natural law, we have to think about what we're doing and how we respect other people and other animals. We've got it to where animals can't migrate. It's as dangerous for a deer or a mountain lion or an old bear or even birds as it is for humans to try to cross some of these roads. I mean, they're huge. Why do we have to lord it over everything around us? That's not natural law. Natural law is cooperative. The law of God, God's law, not man's law, God's law, respects everything because everything was created by the Creator. And so that's part of what that means. It means that a bicyclist is no better than a car driver is no better than a pedestrian, and none of the above are better than somebody in a wheelchair. So long as that person is being responsible, that is, considerate about the welfare and the well-being of those around him or her, then their modality, and skateboards are just as fine too, because, they're a mode of getting around. So that's part of it. Um, and of course, that means mass transit. The other part is the regenerative modality. Clearly, from a impact point of view, the foot walker, the bicyclist, even the person in a wheelchair is less impactful on the environment, on the regenerative cycles of the surroundings than someone in an SUV or an airplane. Um, and this includes water. Now, water, we got boats. You shouldn't be paying tags. You shouldn't have to have a license to say, oh, I've paid my fees to the corporation. I've given them my authority. And that's all that is. I don't care if you have a license from the corporation, so long as you're respectful. And that brings us to the restrictive part, our traffic lights. Like most people, I thought it was about safety, and I really did, and that was wrong. I've seen several videos with limited sight that I have. I've seen several videos, one in Ethiopia and one of all places in the UK where they've taken out the street light. And there is very little danger. I thought there would be. But then to come to think about it, when I was in Lancaster, the few times we had an earthquake or something earthquake or something that put the power out, and I had to walk home. It wasn't as bad as I thought, although I was very scared. To be honest, I don't trust cars. I don't like the fact that I got to walk across 6-7 lanes going in both directions on a surface street so that some fool can say that they're better than me. I really don't appreciate that, and it's a little scary. But that's that part. But it turns out those things don't actually help. They hinder the flow of movement. They actually make it more dangerous because you, the car driver, most of you watching this probably drive a car, see that red light and you put that pedals on the metal and you're like some damn raceway. And that's the other thing. There is a large death toll, but it's largely created by the corporation. Those ads that I keep mentioning, look at it. It shows high-speed, irresponsible driving. They put that in your little cabeza, and you're not thinking about the well-being of those around you. You're only thinking about your power. I'm an American. I'm a high. I'm classy because I got this machine that says so. That's what the commercials teach people to do. It doesn't make you a man. It doesn't make you a human. It doesn't make you classy if you're being irresponsible. If people were actually more conscious about what they did, people like me wouldn't care so long as their right to walk, bicycle, ride a skateboard, or roller skates, or whatever mode, or horse and buggy for that matter. I shouldn't have to say, well, I'm not a car driver. I'm not eligible to have a livelihood. I'm not eligible to be treated as a real man because you're supposed to take the woman in your car to drive. Now you're a man. Now you have a family. Now you got to drive a car. I mean, this is the attitude that we're pumped in by the corporation because they're trying to make a fat dollar off of us. And that's what they're doing. They're making it off of it on the fees. They're making it, the lawyers are making a hand over fist with their lawsuits, with their injuries, and making people impaired for life. Bad enough people are dying on the road because of the irresponsibility that pumped into our little heads. But the little children and the adults that are injured by these vehicles for life, they're impaired. Now they got to wear a walker. Now they got to use a wheelchair. Now their head's been damaged so bad their brains don't work proper. Why? So a corporation can make money off of us? That's not natural law. That's not right. And we do have the right to travel. But that does not give us the right to lord it over somebody in a wheelchair or in a boat. Or hinder the animal from migrating. The great buffalo were hindered as much by the train routes as by the hundreds just shooting them by the thousands every day. Just slaughtering them for no reason other than to say I'm a man. Look, I just killed that thing. I don't understand that. And that's another, but our choices of modality have to respect And that includes how much or how little noise you have. Those cars need to have some sound. I've been told you can actually make these electric cars make a sound. And visually impaired people need to have a sound. For me, it makes me feel better. Not so loud that my head vibrating and my body is going into fight and flight mode automatically. But just loud enough for me to be able to track you. I just need enough sound. Any visually impaired person, because your hearing is as important as your sight. And what that allows you to do is actually track by sound. You can actually listen to a car and tell how fast they're going and what direction. Blindfold yourself next time. Go out to someday and go out to a road, blindfold yourself, and listen. And you might be very surprised, and you're not even trained. So the right to travel is a major, major, major thing because everybody has a right to move. But that doesn't, that's why we put it in there. It's Article 11, and that's why we have it, because it's natural. We have to go hunt, fish, gather, migrate, find materials to build nests and homes. We have the right to travel. That's how the caveman, that's how we got into Europe. That's how we got out of Africa or Australia, whichever theory is right or both. We traveled. We got on our little boats, our little canoes, and we paddled. Or we just sailed. Or we hiked. We didn't have an SUV. And we don't have to. Planes are a bit environmentally destructive because of the large amount of energy and the kind of energy that is used. But if those weren't a factor, and the sound is really loud, it hurts the birds, it damages their sense of things. It's frightening. Even humans that think we're accustomed to it, that loud, loud sound actually trigger in our automatic nervous system a fright and a fear, and keeps us perpetually on fear. At a low grade, but constant. And we don't even realize that. So we have to think about how it even affects that. So that's it for now. I may get this uploaded tonight. I may have to wait till Friday when I get some dinero and put some buy a memory chip for my phone so I can increase it. But we'll get it up one way or the other. Anyway, you have a great night, and that's my take on that. And one other thing, borders. But that goes in another section, and I will cover that. But it's also related to the right to movement. So you have yourself a good night. Bye-bye.